Intel or AMD, the age-old debate, but you know, these days it's starting to feel a lot more one-sided. Honestly, Intel's fallen behind in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to engineering. It reminds me of that episode of The Simpsons where Marge buys a fancy Chanel suit. She starts to wear it proudly, but then she starts remaking new suits out of the same original one, squeezing every last bit of value out of it. Eventually though, it just falls apart because she's used it up as much as she could, and there's nothing left to work with. That's pretty much how Intel's flagship chips feel these days. They're still powerful, sure, but they're kind of like last season's model. And when you compare them to AMD's X3D chips, it's clear they're starting to show their age. X3D CPUs run cooler, don't require expensive motherboards or RAM, and you don't need to mess with tuning that much just to get solid performance. You get more power, better efficiency, and more savings, all without the hassle. Now, I'm not saying Intel chips are bad. Their top-end CPUs are still like those old-school V12 engines, big, powerful, and very impressive, but also gas guzzlers in a world where efficiency is the name of the game. That's why after my 13900K, I said no more Intel for me. I briefly picked up a 14900K, but honestly, it gave almost identical performance to my 13900K, so I ended up sending it back. Since then, I haven't seen anything from Intel that really gets me excited, especially with the 285K, which just feels like more of the same to me. For now, the 13900K is still pretty close to Intel's best offering, especially because I have a pretty high bin sample. So today we're going to see how it stacks up against AMD's new powerhouse CPU, the 9800X3D. As always, I used labs and streets offline to establish baseline performance numbers before moving to streets on live servers for real-world results. Testing on live servers adds that unpredictable Tarkov RNG, making these numbers more reflective of what you'll experience in actual gameplay. For the graphics settings, I use my Pure 80 preset, which balances visuals and performance. If you're looking to fine-tune your own setup, check out my Tarkov optimization guide, link in the description and in the upper right-hand corner. Now let's talk hardware. For the 13900K, I ran it on my Asus Z790 ROG Dark Hero motherboard paired with 32GB of DDR5 at 7200 CL34. While the memory compatibility on this platform technically supports higher speeds, I actually ran into some stability issues when pushing beyond 72. For the 9800X3D, I paired it with the Gigabyte X670E Aorus Extreme motherboard and 32GB of DDR5 at 6400 CL26. I also applied my Titan secondary and tertiary timings from my 9800X3D tuning video. If you're interested in squeezing the absolute best performance out of your 98, I've got a full breakdown in that video. Just click the link in the upper right hand corner. Link is also in the description. This testing setup ensures we're pushing both CPUs to realistic limits while staying within configurations that most enthusiasts can replicate. Alright, onto the numbers. Starting with labs where the CPU should be able to shine, the 9800X3D consistently outperforms the 13900K across all resolutions. At 1080, the 9800X3D delivers a 30.56% boost in average FPS, about a 36% improvement in 1% lows, and about a 57% improvement in 0.1% lows. This means the gameplay is much smoother, even during the most chaotic labs firefights. At 1440p, the 9800X3D continues to dominate, offering about a 26% advantage in average FPS, 31% increase in 1% lows, and a 32% boost in 0.1% lows. In 4K, the GPU limitations start to show even with the 4090, but the 9800X3D still leads with a 16% higher average FPS, 13% higher average in 1% lows, and an impressive 38% jump in 0.1% lows. Moving on to the nominal streets offline testing, the 9800X3D once again pulls ahead at every resolution. In 1080, the 9800X3D provides a massive 35% boost in average FPS, 40% boost in 1% lows, and an astonishing 76% leap in 0.1% lows. These gains make even the busiest areas of streets feel buttery smooth without any stuttering. At 1440p, the performance gap narrows slightly, but the 9800X3D still delivers a 23% advantage in average FPS, 22% increase in 1% lows, and a massive 56% boost in 0.1% lows. In 4K, where the GPU takes on more of the load, the 9800X3D maintains its edge with a modest 1.5% increase in average FPS, a decent 6% improvement in 1% lows, but an incredible 67% leap in 0.1% lows. That means it's just going to feel a lot more smooth and you're not going to feel any micro stuttering. Finally, in the Streets online testing where live server interactions add extra complexity, the 9800X3D continues to outperform. The 9800X3D achieves a 27% higher average FPS in 1080, 16% boost in 1% lows, and a 15% improvement in 0.1% lows. These improvements are critical during intense firefights and contribute immensely to the smoothness of the game. At 1440, the 9800X3D offers a 20% increase in average FPS, 7% boost in 1% lows, and a 1% boost in 0.1% lows, maintaining still a noticeable lead. In 4K, as the GPU becomes the limiting factor, the 9800X3D still pulls ahead with a 14% higher average FPS, 1% improvement in 1% lows, and a 1.5% increase in 0.1% lows. When it comes to efficiency, the 9800X3D puts the 13900K to shame. With an average temperature of just 52.9 degrees Celsius, the 9800X3D runs 28% cooler than Intel at 67.7 degrees. Now, one thing to note, I did have to run my AIO fans at 100% for the Intel to keep it from thermal throttling, while with the 9800X3D I was just running on the eco setting, so it was dead quiet with the 98 and it was like a jet engine with the Intel. Pair that with the 111% lower power draw, just 60 watts versus the 13900K staggering 127 watts, and it's clear that AMD's engineering is on another level. This means less heat, less noise, and no need to fork out for exotic cooling solutions. Plus, the lower power draw not only saves you money on electricity, but also makes smaller power supplies viable, which keeps your build cost down. In contrast, the 13900K feels like an aging power-hungry relic, like a V12 engine in a hybrid world. Sure, it's still powerful, but the inefficiency is undeniable. The 9800X3D doesn't just outperform, it does so while sipping power and staying cool under pressure, making it the clear choice for gamers who value performance and efficiency. So, which one should you choose? If you're after raw performance in terms of FPS and smooth gameplay, the 9800X3D is clearly the winner. The consistency in low FPS and overall performance is unmatched, and it's much easier on your system in terms of power consumption and cooling. That said, the 13900K is still a great CPU, and if you've already got one in your system, it's still a solid choice, but if you're looking to upgrade or build a new system and want the best gaming experience, I'd suggest the 9800X3D. Alright, that's all I got for this one, guys. If you found this video helpful, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more detailed tech breakdowns and gaming benchmarks. Got questions? Drop them in the comments or join the PYurologie Discord, which now has over 1,000 awesome members sharing tips, builds, and gaming setups. It's a great community and we'd love to have you there. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.